When you go through a traumatic experience, whether it's childhood neglect, abuse, betrayal, or even emotional abandonment, your brain doesn't process it as a memory, quote unquote. The nervous system becomes rewired. So, what tends to happen is this: when you go through trauma, you have the conscious mind and you have the subconscious mind. Trauma goes right through the conscious into the subconscious. You have something called the neural pathways in your brain. And the neural pathways communicate to the brain when the brain has its sensation. And depending on what the sensation is, has a memory, kind of a somatic response. So it's just not a memory, it's a memory that comes with a feeling that came from a sense to begin with. So sense, smell, taste, touch, feel. So if you feel like you failed, that feeling of failing can bring its sensation to the subconscious and create a somatic memory response with mind, body, and emotions. So I try to break that down as simple as I can, but the way I like to do it, that I refer to, is the 5 layers of energy: your nervous system, organs and glands, muscular system, emotions, subconscious. So I failed, or I'm stuck, or I can't do this, or I'm not able to do this one thing that I really want to accomplish. That feeling is in sensation, and that sensation brings you through a somatic response. And that somatic response puts you in a state subconsciously where you'll repeat the same pattern over and over, and you'll feel like you're stuck. If you read The Body Keeps the Score, which I think he did a tremendous job, I think it's pretty scientific for people who didn't go to school for science. Not saying that you can't read it. Most of you are very intelligent. But what I'm saying is, like, I had to go to school to learn this kind of stuff. I have a movement science degree, and I understand it. And as I'm reading it, I try to read it to some of my clients, and they're like, dude, I have no idea what that means. In The Body Keeps the Score, if you go to starting on page 66, you'll start to see how the brain changes when one goes through a trauma response and they detected a particular part of the brain where self, where a person understands self. So for an example, what they did is they did a study and they made 18 people lay down and wanted to see what part of the brain responds when someone is understanding self. What they saw is 18 individuals that didn't have trauma. When they laid them down and they told them, just don't think of anything. The people that didn't have trauma was able to get to a part of the mind where they thought about self. When they took the individuals who have trauma and they laid them down, those individuals were not able to identify self. And they know what group was able to do so and what group wasn't, based on what part of the brain lit up like a little Christmas tree. So what does that mean for you? Why does that have to do with anything you feeling stuck? Well, when we go deeper into this, there's two kind of associations that this will bring on an individual. Number one, a person will start to become kind of like, when they feel overwhelmed, they like to isolate themselves. And then when a person wants to go out for a goal, they start to look for confirmation. So both things are kind of really bad imbalances, right? Everything has a yin and a yang, or polarity. These are two ends of the spectrum of the polarity of what you need to accomplish your goals and not feel stuck in life. Because if you're all alone and you're trying to think to yourself and do things by yourself, it's really hard to accomplish any goals just by yourself, right? Like, it doesn't matter what you do in life, it's very hard to do it by yourself. On the other hand, it's very hard to do the things you want to do if you're looking for confirmation and approval from others. You see what I'm saying? So it gets a little nasty in between. What tends to happen is when you feel overwhelmed or you feel stressed, those feelings are associated when you feel disappointed, you feel upset, you feel angry at yourself, you feel like you failed. So this feeling is very similar. It's the same trickle effect that would trigger off as if you are experiencing a trauma again, or when you are too stressed. And the brain has a higher part of the brain where you're conscious and you're able to, it's the conscious and the subconscious, where it's able to think of an idea and want to go after the idea. The subconscious has the part of the doing part of the brain. The conscious has a knowing part of the brain. So you should be going to the gym. You should work out. You should go and eat better. You should be making content if you want to make content. But the subconscious is the doing part. And it gets deeper when it comes down to feeling stuck, because you know what you should do, but you're not doing it. And then we create something called immobilization. And what that means is you have all these ideas in your mind, you have all these things that you imagine yourself doing, but since you're not doing, your body becomes in this kind of freeze state. If we go back in your past and see your childhood, and if you went through childhood trauma, for an example, or you was in an abusive relationship with a partner, we have to see were there moments where you were so overwhelmed or kind of like going through the stress and going through the trauma where you weren't able to fight back at your parents or your partner or whoever, verbally abused you at work or whatever. You weren't able to run away. So you have to learn on how to freeze yourself in that position. And in the scientific word, we call that immobilization. So your mind is going through fight or flight and your body's not responding. When this happens, your brain switches to survival mode. Your body tenses up, your emotions shut down, and your brain stops focusing on who I am and starts asking, how do I stay safe? And the more you stay in survival mode, the harder it becomes to trust yourself. Because survival mode doesn't care about growth, it cares about protection. So over time, your brain develops these protective thoughts like don't take risk, stay small, wait until it's safe. And those thoughts, they feel true, they feel real, they feel comforting. But here's the reality, they're not you. It worked in the past. It works when you're in really dangerous situations, but we have to be able to understand when we're actually going through something that's dangerous and when we're going for something that feels dangerous but actually isn't dangerous. And that's called your perception. The sensory system, the nervous system brings false perceptions because the trauma that has occurred went through the conscious mind so fast and rewired your neurotransmitters that the feelings that are feeling associated to a stress or a trauma gives you the perception and gives the brain the perception as if it's going through danger. And that perception creates a mind, body, emotions, or somatic memory response. These feelings are defense mechanisms, patterns your brain's created to keep you safe during trauma. And while they may have protected you in the past, they are not going to be working for you today. They're keeping you stuck. One of the things that I'll share with you to bring this into life form is when I was writing my book, The You Never Knew, my mother was assaulted. And when she was assaulted, my immediate reaction was to get revenge. But then when I went to the hospital and I saw my mother unconscious and went through this whole scenery that I can't even really pull myself through to this day because it really screwed me up. What I realized is when I went back to go write the book, I was having problems writing, especially for the simple fact that I was writing a chapter about her because she brought me through a lot of trauma. And I was in this freeze state. I was trying to write and I was freezing. And it really threw my confidence off. It threw the way I was able to think. It made me procrastinate. I became a procrastinator. It's been a little while since I experienced a real trauma. I'm 31 now. I went through a lot, until I was like by 23. But it's been a good 7 years, 8 years with no crazy trauma. Yo, that threw me off. And then it didn't end there. I had to go through the hospital process with her, recovery with her. It was very challenging, especially because at one point she was going through a withdrawal because she's a drug addict. So she was like trying to fight the nurses. It was so embarrassing. It was a very, very bad time. This took place from March to about July. When I was going through this process, I noticed that even my creativity, even when I want to go make content, for an example, it carried over to that, right? If it feels like someone punched me in the gut and I have to get my flow back, I have to be able to, when I'm speaking, it's hard for me to flow because it's like my body's is a little off since that time. And then other things had went on from there. With my father, he almost passed away. It was a really weird year for me. But I'm saying that to say to you, I was a confident guy, right? I was out in the world. I was doing my thing. Put me in front of any camera, put me in front of any client. I can do it. Then I became someone who started overthinking and someone who started becoming hesitant, someone who I started pausing a lot. And I told my fiance, I said, I think I have to see a therapist or something. I know what I should be doing. I have to go see a therapist. And I started going see somebody. And I started telling them, they're like, you should take a year off of work and you should do. I'm like, dude, I'm not taking no damn year off. My dreams are too big. But there's a couple things that I recognized that I had to do that I'm happy to share with you today. So if you're feeling like you can relate in a situation, there's a couple things that we need to do first. The first thing is we need to understand that when you go through a trauma, you're gonna be a victim. You're gonna be a victim. Okay. It's gonna happen. If you're a victim of a trauma, you're a victim. But the victim can create a victim archetype. And the victim archetype is one who believes that the world is going against them. And it's fair to think that when you have things happen back to back to back to back. But we have to be very careful with that. The victim archetype we can think about as if a person in a movie or characters in a movie that's playing a role. In the movie, there's a hero, the one who overcomes obstacles. And then there's the villain, the one who creates the problems. And then the victim, the one who believes they're powerless. Here's how the victim archetype shows up today. They blame circumstances, their past, their parents, their job for why they're stuck. They feel like change is out of their control and they wait for someone else to rescue them, a partner, a coach, or the right time. It's not the right time to do this. Now we kind of know a little information regarding on how a person loses self when they experience trauma. We start to carry out our mission and our desire to feel like we're loved or we feel like we're welcomed or we feel as if we need to impress or get confirmation from others. And the tricky thing with this is that you lose a lot of personal power and self will when we do this. And it happens subconsciously, right? We're trying, at least we're trying, right? But when you are doing things for confirmation of others, you're now stepping into what Carl Jung will call the persona. And the persona is a version of yourself that you create. It's a mask that you can put on. It's an invisible mask, but it comes with your personality, the way you talk, your character, and you go out into the world and you try to make sure that you can fit in. That could be very dangerous because you may have your own personal goals that you want to be able to accomplish, but the goals that you're doing for other people or the goals you're doing for yourself to impress other people are very different than the goals that you have for yourself. They're two different things. And what you'll learn is that you'll accomplish a certain amount of things and you'll come to a point in your life where you go, damn, okay, I thought this was going to feel better when I accomplished this. I thought this was going to feel better if I were to come across this finish line, but you find yourself it didn't. So in order to really be able to break out of the victim, you have to become aware as soon as you want to start taking decisions for yourself to be able to come over here and start going after your own goals. You're going to have to recognize that most of the people, when you begin to tell them or you begin to show them that you want to do something different, they're going to disagree. And if you are still stuck in a victim as if you're powerless or you're someone who can't accomplish the goals that you put out for yourself, you'll immediately start believing what they're saying or believing that you can't do it because they're happy because they have someone helping them accomplish their goals or fitting in with them or agreeing with them. But then if they lose someone like you because you want to do something different, then that's messing up their journey. My mentor said, if you're not clear on what you want in life and you're not striving towards your own goals, you are helping somebody else accomplish theirs. I was like, damn, that's a bar. In order to really be able to take that step or that leap of faith into going after the things that you want, you're going to have to recognize that the victim archetype can't exist anymore. You were a victim before. And if you're still a victim, then you should be working that out with a mental health professional. But if it's something that happened in the past, you have to be able to bring your brain into the present. Into the present. The past makes you depressed. Thinking about the future gives you anxiety. You have to be present. And while you're being present, the false perceptions that came, they're going to come. It's natural. You're not going to just wake up and like, I'm not going to think or feel like I'm not a victim anymore. Bro, it's going to happen. The first step to being unstuck and getting unstuck is being able to recognize, oh, yo, the victim archetype is going to try to kick in. Nate told me about this before. In order to break free from that, the first step is I have to take personal responsibility of my own life. And one of the first steps of taking personal responsibility is learning how to say no. Your yes isn't good enough until you learn how to say no. You want to go to the gym, or you want to go work out, or you want to accomplish one of your goals that you've been having for yourself for a long time. I'm telling you, it's like a universal thing that's going to happen to you. You're going to put it in your schedule. You're going to set that date. You're going to set the time. And as soon as you do that, somebody's going to call you and ask you to do something for them on the same day, at the same time. You fear, you say no, you're going to lose them as a connect or as a friend or as someone who can help you on your goal in your journey, because you feel, you may not be saying it consciously, but a subconscious feeling is as if you can't do it by yourself. You feel powerless. So you say yes and you cancel your goals and your plans and you go do it for them. I'm telling you right now, that is going to be the first step to being unstuck, is learning on how to say no. The second step is going to be learning on when you say no, see how people react. See how they react. You'll be amazed. And then think about, is it worth stressing about people who react a certain way when you say no to do things for yourself? You don't know self and you're used to always doing something for someone else. When you go out on your journey and you say no that first time and you go out on that journey, you want to take a step of action towards what you want to do, just know that confidence doesn't exist for you. You can't be confident at something you've never done before. Confidence comes through repetition. That's the most simple way I can teach you. Confidence comes through repetition. The more you do something, the more confident you'll become. The more confident you become. My favorite example is if the first time you got in a car, you had both hands on the wheel, and you're looking at all your mirrors, and you're trying your best to be able to not hit something. Now you go in a car, phone is on your shoulder, you whipping it. Yo, what's up? Yeah, I'm on my way. You chilling. It's subconscious now. You're confident when you drive versus when you first drove. So when you go out there and you're trying to do things for self, for you, for self, the confidence won't be there. You have to be able to use affirmations of saying, oh, I'm not that confident, or I feel a little scared, or I feel like I'm powerless, but I know, just get it done today. And then the more I do it, the more confident I'll become. The more I do it, the more I learn. The more I do it, the more wise I become. I'm telling you right now, it's like magic. Sit down with a journal and write down how you feel when you first step out to go do the thing that you feel like you should have been doing and you want to get unstuck. Think about the first feeling that comes up, write a journal, put the date on the top left, and write down the feelings. Put in bullet points. Tell me how you feel. Do that every day. Go to day 14 compared to day 1 and watch the magic happen. A lack of confidence will create self-doubt. So if you don't know self, then you don't have confidence with self. And then when you want to go do something for self, you have self-doubt. Confidence is built on one decision, one action, one step at a time. When you break away from the victim archetype, you go into the hero archetype. The hero archetype is someone who makes a beautiful story from their pain. A victim archetype is someone who continues to use the story that happened to them in the past to live in the present and tries to project the future. How many of you have a cousin or a family member, anytime you come up with a goal or something you want to do, they project into the future of what you have to be afraid of or what you have to be careful of? Hey, mom, I'm going to go and start my business, or I'm going to go to the gym and go lose weight. You got to be careful starting a business. You start a business, most businesses fail. And I know people who fail. Whoa, damn, I just told you I had a goal. Or you got to be careful going to the gym. Did you see that thing that happened on the news? They say that happens every day. You got to be careful because people are doing this to tires in that gym. And it's very hard to talk to those individuals because every time you talk to them, they project fear into the future for you. It's kind of like a spell. I want you to draw a circle, right? As you're listening to me, I want you to think about, what is it that you want? Because guess what, my friend? The biggest mistake that you will make is you're going to say, I want to do this one thing, and you're going to go all out trying to do too much in just a little bit of time. A lot of trauma or stress or feeling stuck comes and it associates with the root chakra. And the root chakra is safety, security, survival. One of the things that people with a root chakra imbalance or feeling stuck in life is that your boy, I'm in this party with you, we do not know how to limit ourselves. We do not know how to create limitations. We can kind of become a little too delusional or too compulsive, where we say we want to do one thing and then we go all out on that one thing and expect the most amazing results just in 1 week. And as soon as we don't see that, we feel like we failed, and then it kills our momentum. And then we go back to watching videos or listening to podcasts or trying to read books or get more information. And we create a spectrum of procrastination and perfectionism. So the first thing we can do is we get clear on it. One, you have to be able to name it for me. So instead of saying, "Oh, I want to lose weight," no, how much weight you want to lose? Instead of telling me, "I want to get stronger," no, what particular body part do you want to get stronger? What kind of strength do you want? Do you want aesthetic? You want to look aesthetically strong, or do you want to be physically strong? Two different workout programs right there. They can work in one eventually, but two different things. You're going to draw that in a beautiful middle of a piece of paper and you're going to draw a circle around it. Then what you're going to do from there is you're going to look at it. You're going to put some music on in the background. You're going to drink some tea. You're going to chill. And you're going to draw one line that comes from that circle. And you're going to think about one thing that you can do that can get you one step closer to that goal. While you're doing it, just be aware that the brain is going to say, how? It's going to question you, how, how, how. Do not listen to that part of the brain. Let it just yap on. Continue to write down everything as if anything is possible. But at the same time, you're going to have to make sure you get clear of what you need to do to be able to accomplish that. As you're doing it, you may get a little overwhelmed because you may go, damn, I got to get this, and damn, I still have to do that. I still didn't do this from last week or last month. It's okay. One step at a time. Just write it out. Then when you're done writing it out, I want you to get a highlighter. If you don't have a highlighter, just get a different color pen or pencil and think about three things out of everything you have to write or you wrote out that you have to do to get one step closer. Highlight the things that are most realistic for you to do today. When you felt like you're stuck for a long time in your life, when it's time to get unstuck, we felt like we missed out on so much that we need to rush the process and we need to do everything we can to make something happen right now so we can play catch up. We're catching up to all the things we missed out on or we should have done a long time ago. And you'll start seeing the strong connection to perfectionism and procrastination in that. Now, if you have 10 things that you have in total that you have to do all in one, accomplish the first three consistently first before you graduate to the next three. So you don't put yourself in a position where you feel overwhelmed or it's stressing you out or it's just not realistic. Now we have to build consistency. The consistency is the repetition. The repetition is what is missing with confidence for self. If we try to get you to do repetition with too many things and you're going in with self-doubt and lack of confidence, it's going to be easy to want to quit or just not be able to accomplish it and then bring on the false perceptions that you're not good enough, that this isn't made for you. All that negative self-talk, that is a somatic memory that will come up. Now, as you're picking the three things and you're repping it through, you're building a little bit of confidence. Confidence overweighs or overpowers self-doubt. By the time you go to the next three that you have to do, so you have 7 left. By the time you go to the next three, which you should be choosing, the next three is the next steps of what's realistic and what's not realistic for you, right? So the first three were the things that you can do today that are not, it's the least difficult. The next three, you're following that same approach, that same formula. By the time you get to the last thing you have to do, you built the confidence, but you built the repetition and you built the trial and error stages that you went through for the first 9. So the last one you can leave as the most challenging thing to do. You can't be stuck if you're taking action. Think about that. You're stuck when you're planning too much and you're not taking action. And the planning is coming from trying to do too much at once because you're playing a game of catch up. So, first thing is write down your goal, draw a sunset around it, or sun is what I like to call it. Put the particular goal in the middle and then draw sun rays. And at the end of each sun ray is one step of action that you can take today to get one step closer. Take a highlighter, highlight 3 first. Do those things each and every day until you get consistent at it and you notice that self doubt isn't really showing up as much as it was before and you're more confident. But consistency is usually the result of taking action. So if you're consistent and it's becoming second nature to you, subconscious, you're taking action, you're pulling yourself out of feeling stuck, then what you can do from there is you can take on the next 3 and then the next 3 and then leave that one that's like, oof, I don't want to do that. Ugh, that's annoying. Leave that one for last. So by the time you get there, you have confidence, you have consistency, you have no more self-doubt, you don't feel stuck, you're taking action, and now you can pull all your confidence and powers together to go after that one thing and you won't overthink about that one particular thing. It's important from there to understand that you're going to have to say no. And from saying no and taking action on things that are, especially when you first start and you're not good at it, it's uncomfortable. But understanding you have to be comfortable to being uncomfortable gives you persistence. And persistence is the one golden bridge that you need when you go from not only being unstuck, but also chasing a dream or accomplishing a particular goal. Persistence is very, very, very essential. One of the most essential things that each person has to have when you're going after big things in life. Procrastination is the first step to failure. Being stuck is procrastinating. But if I just keep telling you, you need to be more productive, productivity, you need to be more productive, but you don't understand on why you feel stuck to begin with, I'm wasting your time. It's a lot different when you come from stress or childhood trauma. So understanding the traits of why you feel the way you feel and having a little more empathy. Oh, that's why I feel like that. And you know, one of the biggest life lessons I've learned, as soon as you take action on something that you had an idea, but you was too stuck to be able to accomplish it, somebody else would discover the same idea that you had and start showing the world. And you go, damn, I knew that already. Or I had that. And you start like, damn, I should have been did it. I go through that probably once a week, right? Probably once a week. Because there's times in my life where I'm looking for, hold on, nobody's showing that this works yet. Nobody is presenting that. Science doesn't show this. I'm waiting for the confirmation. Your heart and your intuition lead you on roads that the ego does not. I just made that up. That was a fire though. I like it.